Do you like hamsters? Do you like giants? Do you like slamming giant creatures into play? Then this is the deck for you. Minsc Beloved Ranger was suggested by a commenter DJSMax2048, and after a while to sit and think on it, I finally came to the most fun solution I could think of. Who doesn't love turning little lovable hamsters into hulking behemoths? Minsc Beloved Ranger is a 3-mana, 1 green, 1 red, and 1 white, 3/3 legendary creature human ranger that says, when Minsc Beloved Ranger enters the battlefield, create Boo, a legendary 1/1 red hamster creature token with trample and haste. And pay X until end of turn, target creature you control has base power and toughness XX, and becomes a giant in addition to its other types. Activate only as a sorcery. Minsc is a great sack outlet in a color that doesn't always have the best effects for aristocrat strategies. And there's also a EDH deck that looks to power out a Protean Hulk and win through a combination of creatures that total CMC under 6. This deck still uses the sack aspect of Minsc, but we're going to focus on using the ability a little differently. We're going to put Boo to use, like a good ranger would, by turning it into anything else using polymorph effects to turn the 1/1 hamster into anything but. Let's dive into the creatures to give you a little better idea of what I'm yapping about. Calamity Bearer. Yes, this is the first creature, a 4-mana creature. This deck does not move quick in the early game, but once Minsc is down, the game quickly rockets into our control. Calamity Bearer also works great as a damage doubler for giants, which is a sub-theme for the deck. Fireflux Squad is a house. We can turn 3 into Minsc, then turn 4 Fireflux Squad. That hamster is going to become something that's a real problem. Gale Powder Mage has flying, which gives it some evasion when attacking. It also lets us blink a creature when it attacks, so we can reuse useful ETBs as well as make sure we have hamsters to use for our polymorph spells. Gamekeeper is a trade pick. While we might flip into him on occasion, we can always use Minsc's effect to sack him and find another creature. Mistmoon Griffin cares about the order of our graveyard, because it can reanimate the top creature card of our graveyard. Neheb Dreadhorde Champion gives us ways to churn through the deck by discarding all the big cards we don't want to cast, drawing new ones, and giving us some red mana. Tectonic Giant can either help us get to a card we want, or combo with our damage doublers to deal 6+ damage to all opponents each time it attacks. Clone Shell lets us look at 5 cards, then put the best one under it before we use Minsc to trade up to that hopefully better creature. Flame Rush Rider lets us either have a token for any combat tricks, or just a way to get an extra damage doubler in. Giant Harbinger searches for a giant and puts it on top of our library. Best used to either get Calamity Bearer or Tectonic Giant, but if you get to have another flip into something, then stack it with Hamletback Goliath or Surtland Flinger. Karmic Guide gets us back a creature, so even if one of our behemoths gets cut down, that doesn't mean they are down and out. It's also why we want to be discarding cards, that way if we hit a Karmic Guide with our polymorph effects, we want to have something to reanimate. Port Razor might not stay under $1 for very long, but while it is, I'm going to shove it into everything I can. You can't argue with extra combat steps.
No, he's got a point.
Skyboon Evangelist comes in and gives out 6 counters, then gives all creatures with counters flying, which can help our important creatures get in. Surtland Flinger takes our creatures and flings them into our opponent's faces, and if they happen to be giants, it deals double damage.
That's a lot of damage!
Urabrask the Hidden gives our creatures haste and makes it difficult for our opponents to put in defenders for the incoming onslaught. Warchief Giant has haste and myriad, so it comes down and immediately becomes a problem for everyone to deal with. Aggressive Mammoth is an 8/8 with trample that gives all of our creatures trample. Dream Shaper Shaman is polymorph on a body. At our end step, we can pay 1 red and 2 generic and sacrifice a non-land permanent. Then flip till you hit a permanent that shares a type with the sacrificed permanent. This can be used to trade up not only artifacts, but enchantments as well. Duke Ulder Ravenguard can give haste to a creature as well as myriad. Furbolg Flutus takes control of an opponent's creature and also gives myriad. Best part is, if we have Minsc out, then we can use it to sacrifice the creature before it returns to our opponent. Mirage Phalanx makes an extra token of it and whatever it soul bonds with. Sakiko Mother of Summer turns all the damage we deal into green mana. Engrath's Marauders is another damage doubler. Gisela Blade of Gold Knight is a damage doubler, not just for us, for all damage to our opponents, and half damage for us. Gruul Rage Beast gives us a little removal by letting any creature that comes in fight target creature. Hamletback Goliath gets absolutely massive after a couple creatures enter the battlefield, then can be flung with Surtland Flinger for double damage, or just smack face. Molten Primordial is one of my favorite cards in the deck, because we get to take one of each of our opponent's creatures, then we can blink it to take more, or just sack the creatures with Minsc after attacking. Plus, it itself has haste, so can immediately come down and get busy. Realm Cloaked Giant is a board wipe on its adventure side, but if you put in some extra mana through Minsc's effect, you can make anything you don't want to die a giant before casting the board wipe, making it a somewhat one-sided board wipe. Soul of Eternity can be flipped into mid-combat, which is an easy way to take someone completely out of the game if they don't have a blocker ready for a 40-40, if you've taken no damage. But even if your opponents get rid of it, we can still bring it back from the graveyard with its Encore effect. Giant Ankeg gives all our creatures Ward 2 and Trample to make sure we can push through damage. Magmatic Force gives us a Lightning Bolt on every upkeep. With a damage doubler out, that's 6 damage every upkeep. Just one turn cycle with that, you can cut someone's life total in half. And Verdant Force makes a little sapling on each upkeep that we can use to either chump block or for our other polymorph effects. Our sorceries do a multitude of different things to help pull us towards victory. Faithless Looting, Cathartic Reunion, Tormenting Voice, and Pirate's Pillage are all looting effects to get things into our graveyard and our polymorph cards into our hand. Rampant Growth, Search for Tomorrow, and Migration Path ramp us. Regrowth gets us back anything we need to use again. Late to Dinner and Resurrection reanimate one of those bombs we dumped in the graveyard. Reality Scramble and Transmogrify are our sorcery speed polymorphs. Lastly, Cabaret Confluence is a modal spell giving us a couple different options depending on the situation. We can create a token of target creature we control and sacrifice it at the end step, exile target artifact or enchantment, or give creatures target player controls +1/+1 and first strike until end of turn. The best part? You get to choose 3, and you can choose 3 of the same. In response, let's go to our instance. Cloud Shift, Acrobatic Maneuver, and Scroll Shift are going to blink target creature, most of the time this will be Minsc, to get another boo so we can trade up. Thrill of Possibility, Naya Charm, again gives us some modal options to either deal 3 damage to target creature, return a card from a graveyard to its owner's hand, or tap all creatures target player controls. Reincarnation will make sure that when someone tries to remove a creature or we are blocked, we can still get a creature out of it. Unbreakable Formation will help us survive a board wipe or make some more favorable blocks. Divergent Transformation is our last polymorph card that we can trade up 2 creatures or one of ours and one of our opponents. In response, Resurgence, we mostly use the Resurgence side to make sure we can get in for even more combats. Artifacts mostly just help with fixing. Wayfarer's Bauble, Boros Signet, and Gruul Signet. Lastly, Doors of Durin will help us drop even more heat onto our opponents if we speak Friend.
It reads, "The Doors of Durin, Lord of Moria, speak Friend and enter."
Enchantments bring the deck together. Font of Fertility is basically a Wayfarer's Bauble. Bitter Reunion not only loots, but we can also spend 1 mana and crack it to give our creatures haste till end of turn. Fertile Ground, Marshal's Anthem can be a reanimate spell, but also comes with some upside of an Anthem effect. Finally, Nahiri's Resolve gives our creatures +1/+0 and haste, but more importantly, it blinks our creatures out till the start of our next turn if we choose. This lets us abuse ETBs as well as offer some protection for our creatures during other people's turns. Lands, pretty basic. Canopy Vista, Cinderglade, Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, 11 Forest, 12 Mountains, and 9 Plains. That's the deck. While it doesn't have infinite combos, it does have some powerful combos, mostly either multiple combat steps or using Surtland Flinger to launch tokens at players. Nothing that really needs to be covered. The deck currently sits under $20, which for something so explosive and random is crazy. If you like the deck and want to upgrade it, Pattern of Rebirth will help turn any creature we control's death into an even bigger problem for our opponents. Bloodthirster will let us run away with multiple combat steps. Neheb the Eternal gives us red mana for the damage we deal, which helps us cast any big creatures that may get gummed up in our hand. From Outlaws at Thunder Junction, Calamity Galloping Inferno is an excellent addition. Most of the creatures we play aren't legendary, which means when we saddle Calamity, we get not 1, but 2 tokens that are also tapped and attacking. Molten Duplication, Heat Shimmer, and Twin Flame will also let you get tokens that can attack to push the game to its conclusion even faster. Aurelia the War Leader is another great inclusion to push through more combats. If you are in a creature-heavy meta and need to make sure you can get in to start dealing massive damage, Githzerai Monk will tap down all creatures we don't control. Ohir Kazlim Deepest Foundation will not only be difficult to remove, but lets us flip into even more creatures. Zopendrel Hunger Dominus is a huge help in this deck. With all the extra combat steps, our creatures can get absolutely massive when we double their power a time or two. Lastly, Stonehoof Chieftain could also help guarantee that our creatures will survive the combat. If you really want to throw down some money, Ohir Tack Deepest Foundation, Mondrak Glory Dominus, or a Doubling Season can really make the deck explode. Moving right into cards to cut. Calamity Bearer is good, but it really only benefits giants, so if you add any other damage doubler, you're going to be in a better shape. I'd cut it. Tectonic Giant is good, but if you hit him off an attack trigger flip, he doesn't get his effect. He also doesn't get his effect if you make tokens. He may be good on a budget, but if we can go bigger, we should. I'd cut it. Giant Harbinger fetches giants, but unless you're using him to set up a different flip, he's just okay. I'd cut it. Sakiko Mother of Summer is great on a budget, but if I have to choose between green mana and red mana, I'm picking red mana. I'd cut it. Verdant Force gives us bodies we can flip into other creatures, but really no benefit outside of that. I'd cut it. Unbreakable Formation is good, but if we have Heroic Intervention, I'd run that instead. Remember, this is your deck. Once you play it a bit, adjust it to your style and the cards you like to play. Everyone's meta is different. Some cards can really shine if given an opportunity. Well, that's been the deck with some upgrades and cards to cut. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It's a free way to help the channel and I appreciate it greatly. Leave a comment of your favorite card or a commander you would like to see built on a budget. Thank you so much for watching and I will catch you in the next one.